What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unpopular Opinion, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 1984 movie, The Bounty. Guys, normally when I do these videos, I'm behind the camera, or I like to do voiceovers, but today...
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
So, yeah, today, guys, I'm going to be talking about the movie The Bounty, and, guys, my position on The Bounty is an underrated masterpiece. It's a hidden gem. A lot of people don't really know about it. I think it's a great movie. I think it deserves a lot more attention, and I'm going to tell you why. So, firstly, it's important to establish what The Bounty is. Guys, The Bounty tells the real-life story of the 1789 mutiny on The Bounty, and for those who don't know the story, it unfolds as such. Lieutenant William Bligh was given command of a ship, cutter, War Navy ship, the HMS Bounty, which was a really small ship, nothing grandiose, not a frigate, nothing crazy. So Lieutenant William Bligh was given command, and he brought along his friend Fletcher Christian, and he made him his acting lieutenant, so he was de facto second in command, but technically not really. Be that as it may, so Bligh's mission was to sail the Bounty from England all the way to Tahiti, and his mission in Tahiti was to pick up a bunch of breadfruit plants so he could stock up the ship and sail them back to the colonies, the British colonies in the Caribbean, so he could plant them so there'd be an ample, cheap food source for the slaves there. So that was his mission. He was gonna sail around the world to Tahiti, get the breadfruit, but on the way back, his once friend and de facto second in command, Fletcher Christian, led a mutiny against him, and the mutiny is stuff of legend, naval legend, and a lot of movies were made about it. And guys, this one in particular, The Bounty, starring Anthony Hopkins.
One coconut, Mr. Christian? A dozen were taken, man.
I think it's the best one. I think it's definitely the most historically accurate one, and there's a lot of things that I love about it, so let's just get right into this. Firstly, this movie has an all-star cast, and the talent alone is super massive. Guys, two of my top 10 favorite actors in the world are in this movie, Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. You guys know how much I love Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson plays Fletcher Christian. Anthony Hopkins plays the infamous Captain Bligh. We also have Liam Neeson playing Churchill. We have Laurence Olivier. He's head of the court-martial procedure, who's court-martialing, I think he was the Lord Admiral. Yeah, Lord Admiral and the court-martial sequence of Captain Bligh. We have Daniel Day-Lewis. Guys, Daniel Day-Lewis. And the best part is, like, most of these actors at this point weren't established as the superstars that we know them to be, because this is before Silence of the Lambs, so Anthony Hopkins is not Hannibal Lecter yet. Mel Gibson didn't do Lethal Weapon yet, so he's not Martin Riggs. Daniel Day-Lewis, he didn't have a left foot at this time. You know, his left foot wasn't there. And he wasn't Abraham Lincoln because he wasn't born yet, but I digress. The talent in this movie was magnificent, which leads into the next point, guys. The performances of this movie were stellar, amazing. Anthony Hopkins, like, guys, Anthony Hopkins is such an amazing actor. He was able to perfectly play Lieutenant Bligh, or Captain Bligh, because he was commander of the ship.
Oh, dear God.
I hope to avoid this.
Avoid what, sir?
Damn it all, man. I'm expected to sleep with her.
But he played Captain Bligh perfectly. His mannerisms, his attitude, his behavior, I think he did a really good job. And I also really love the voice and accent he portrayed for this movie. Like, he put on a pretty cool voice. Mel Gibson is always, like, a top-notch standout actor. You know, a lot of people are always like, oh, Mel Gibson's a fantastic actor. This was a great performance when he played Fletcher Christian. Great stuff.
You will report to the ship before sundown. Is that understood?
No.
What did you say?
Guys, the next topic I want to talk about in this movie is how amazing the music was. Guys, the musical score for this was fantastic. It was perfectly written. It was wonderful to listen to. It was a very pleasurable joy for the ears, but it also perfectly set the emotional tone for the whole movie. There was moments of awe and wonder, and there was also moments of chaos, and it set the tension perfectly. So whenever something bad happened, there'd be this intense, like, music playing, and you're like, whoa, I feel that. This is some tough stuff. I think the music set the mood perfectly, the emotional mood. It helped complement the visuals of the film, and the music in this was top notch. Really loved this stuff. Also, the fact of the matter is this, like, I think it visually portrayed the time period very well, because you know me, I'm a sucker for history movies, and I'm a sucker for period pieces. I think the costumes, the set pieces, all that stuff were top notch, looked very good. The direction in this movie, guys, the direction in this movie was top notch, solid. I love the intense close-ups. I love the pacing, the editing. all of that good stuff. Guys, this movie was crafted very well. Had a lot of really cool filmmaking techniques, the lighting, the cinematography. It was very well done, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this movie. But guys, all of that is kind of peanuts compared to the main reason why I love this movie. The main reason why I love this movie is because, like I said, it more accurately portrayed the Mutiny on the Bounty than any of the other films doing it. It was more accurate than the Clark Gable movie, the Marlon Brando movie. Like, this one was much more accurate. Now, is it 100% accurate? Not really, no, but the creative differences taken, or, you know, the licenses taken, are forgivable, and they don't actually bother me, and they make sense from a storytelling narrative point of view. But what I really like about this movie, and I think the reason why this stands out to me as the best bounty movie, is, well, it doesn't do the stereotypical cliche of portraying Captain Bligh as an evil, like, aristocrat tyrant. The movie doesn't do that at all, because there's this misconception that Captain Bligh was some evil, oppressive, like, you know, stuck-up tyrant, when in actuality that's not really the case. There's a lot of nuance to this. There's a lot of nuance to this, trust me. This movie takes a very non-biased perspective. It shows the perspective that Captain Bligh is going through, and it also shows you what the crew is going through. It also shows you what Fletcher Christian and his mindset is, and it's up to you to decide whether or not, like, are you on Captain Bligh's side or are you on Fletcher Christian's side? So you as the audience, it's up to you to decide. Was the mutiny worth it? Was it justified? Was Captain Bligh the villain, or was Fletcher Christian the villain? And that's what I love about this movie. So to get into more detail onto that, we see the background of Fletcher Christian and Captain Bligh. We know, and this is historically fact, this is true, that Captain Bligh and Fletcher Christian were actually friends at one point. And when Bligh was assigned to this mission to get the breadfruit plants, he brought along Fletcher Christian, which is true. And when they get to Tahiti, that's when things start to break down in terms of discipline and whatnot. Also, there's a lot of other factors leading up to that. The fact that the ship was very small, it didn't really have other commissioned officers on it except for Bligh. He was a lieutenant. Everyone else were like warrant officers and then inexperienced crew. Plus, there was no Marines, so enforcing discipline was a lot more tough for Bligh to do. And once they get to Tahiti, it kind of screwed everything up, because the crew, they kind of went a little too crazy with the tropical paradise, the women, and then they lost sight of the fact that they're actually sailors in the Navy.
There will be no more mixing with the damned degenerate natives of these islands, by any of my officers or by any of my crew.
And Bligh was still trying to maintain discipline, and it really angered the sailors. And I don't know, I think that's a pretty cool aspect that a lot of people don't like to explore. They kind of just like to pretend that Bligh was just this evil guy. And we see in the movie accurately, like, prior to them arriving at Tahiti, Bligh and Christian weren't enemies. They were still friends, and that's what I like about this. So not only were they still friends prior to Tahiti, but even on Tahiti, relationships didn't really break down until they left. Now, the reason is Fletcher Christian, he met a native woman, which is shown in the movie, and he had feelings for her that Captain Bligh misjudged, and when they left, Bligh was really mad that his crew kind of was like the booze cruise. They were slacking in discipline, and he was like, guys, we're still in the Navy. I don't care if this is a paradise. Let's get back to work. You guys aren't doing what I'm telling you to do. And that's when things started to go crazy. Now, like I said, this movie, it's nuanced, so even though Captain Bligh, for his time period, was actually a lot more lenient than other Royal Navy officers and didn't punish people as severely, he's still, to be honest, I wouldn't want him to be my boss, because he was an angry guy, had a really bad temper, and he would also yell at people in front of his subordinates, which was seen in the movie. You know, we see him chewing out his warrant officers in front of the crew, which impugns on their authority and it causes mistrust. And also, he and Fletcher Christian, accurately, I might add, on the way back, I know I keep saying accurately, but, you know, I'm excited. I'm reviewing this movie. He was yelling at Christian a lot, and Christian was mad, and he was like, oh, the ship is filthy. And that's true. You know, I like how the movie showed there was a moment where Captain Bligh and Fletcher Christian were alone, and he said, listen, I know we had our differences. Tahiti was a bit rough, but, you know, I am prepared to forgive, and I am prepared to forget.
I am prepared to forgive, and I am prepared to forget. Do you understand me?
You know, let's let our relationship go back to the way it was before. And then Fletcher's like, will that be all, sir? Yes. And then it just leaves.
Will that be all, sir?
Yes, that will be all.
Thank you.
And after that, you see Bligh being very petty, and you see him taking out his rage on Christian, which causes the mutiny. So again, you are left as the audience member to draw your own conclusions. Was Bligh a douchebag, Was he not? Was Fletcher Christian being overly sensitive and flouting his responsibilities? Or was he standing up to someone who was treating him and the crew like crap? It's very nuanced, and I very much like this. And I can't stress enough how much I like the fact that this movie doesn't paint Bligh as a villain. Very much like that. But even like individual scenes of like the court-martial, you see William Bligh, he's on a court-martial, he's being tried, and it ping-pongs back and forth with the timeline and the story, and you know, you're looking at what's happening in the mutiny, and it goes back to the present, and you see him in the trial. That's just very good filmmaking. I really like that. And also, I really, really love the fact that this movie includes one thing that people tend to not talk about in terms of the movies, or it's kind of a, I don't know why it shouldn't be, but, you know, to history buffs like me, it's not. The fact that Bligh, you know, him and his men, when they were mutinied upon, they were put in a lifeboat and set adrift, and he managed for thousands of miles on the open ocean to sail from memory and his navigational genius to a Dutch colony in the Pacific, and he saved the men on his boat. That is incredible, and I like how the movie portrayed that. It was a cool survival situation, and a lot of the times that doesn't get discussed in comparison to the actual mutiny. It kind of gets overglossed, but I think that's more remarkable and so much cooler, because that's one of the greatest feats of seamanship in history, where you're lost in the open ocean, you don't have a lot of food, you don't have a lot of water, you're with a bunch of other men, and you manage to sail thousands of nautical miles to safety. Amazing. And that's why Captain Bligh is super cool. And even if he was a douchebag, even if he was acting petty, and even if he was kind of like getting on everyone's, you know, behinds, that trip and him saving everyone, displaying his naval brilliance, dude, all's forgiven. Captain Bligh's the man. Now, in terms of scenes, one scene that I really love in this movie, I think this is my favorite scene of the whole movie, is when, and this is also true, it's a true story, the loyalist of the bounty, because keep in mind, not everyone was a participant of the mutiny. It was basically like 50-50, almost half and half, of the crew who wanted to remain loyal to Bligh and not partake, and the ones who were like, no, we're taking the ship, Christian's taking the ship. But anyway, the loyalists, they go to the island of Tafua to supplement their water supply to get more food. And initially, the natives were friendly, but more and more, they were becoming more menacing. And the scene where Bligh and King Theoden were like writing in the logbook, like, okay, so I want you to slowly make your way back to the beach. And the natives are like, like, they're so mad. And they start chasing him, and there's like a huge like chase, and everyone's like, get back on the boat. And then Quartermaster John Norton, he jumps out of the boat. He's got his cutlass, and Bligh is trying to like push his way through the crowd of natives with his trunk and his chest and his equipment. And he's all like, hey! And then Norton's like, Norton, come back, you fool! And he's duking it out with the natives, like having a sword fight on the beach. Get back, you bastard! Get back, you bastard! And that part was so cool. I'm a sucker for like noble sacrifices in movies where a character like heroically puts himself in extreme danger to save the lives of his friends or his comrades. And that's exactly what John Norton did. He jumps out, he fights these people, gives Bligh enough chance to get onto the boat, and unfortunately he's attacked from behind, knocked down, and beaten to death with rocks. That part is actually true. Now, you know, I've read a part of the logbooks from the Mutiny on the Bounty, and based off of what I've read, I don't think John Norton got into a sword fight with any of the natives on the beach, but I do know he jumped out of the boat to try to, like, pull the mooring line out of their hands, because the mooring line that was tethering the boat to the beach was in the hands of the natives, and they're trying to pull them back because they're escaping, and Norton's like, no, I don't think so, and then they just started throwing rocks at him and killed him. Either way, the sword fight, that was pretty cool, you know, because visually this kind of looks like a Pirates movie. Like the bounty itself, if a little kid was to see a picture of the bounty, they'd be like, look, Mom, a pirate ship. And they got like swords and flintlocks. So like this was like the closest thing to a fight, and it was cool. I love it. So that's where I'm coming from. Well, guys, I think The Bounty is an underrated movie. I think it is super awesome. I think it's a hidden gem. I love it. Anthony Hopkins was amazing in this movie. His performance, the way he portrayed Bligh, Mr. Cole, or Mr. Fryer, sir, come back here. Mr. Fryer, sir, come back here. God damn you turned your back on me. I love it. The coconuts. Who doesn't love a good old coconuts? And also, like, if you're really into history movies or sailing movies or Navy movies, you should check it out. It's a pretty good film. I think it's the most accurate of the bounty movies. Like I said, not perfectly accurate, but very accurate nonetheless. And I liked it. It was cool. It was fun. And also, one thing that I very much appreciate is there's a super iconic painting of the Mutiny on the Bounty. You know, right there. You see that? Super iconic painting right there. And the way that the film was unfolding and the way that the bounty, the mutiny was portrayed in the movie, it actually visually shows something very similar to that painting, which I thought that was super cool. A really nice touch, little detail, and I liked it. And that's what I like, because the mutiny sequence was done pretty cool.
You're a dead man, Fletcher.
Dead man's appeared on the boat, sir.
I liked it, and yeah, that's my opinion. Guys, that's what I have to say about the 1984 movie, The Bounty.
Not seen the last of me, Ned Young. Take my word for it.
Awesome movie, underrated, has a lot of awesome performances. Mel Gibson is amazing. Anthony Hopkins was stellar.
Or you, John Adams. Not seen the last of me.
I wouldn't wager on it.
And Liam Neeson, like, this pretty cool role, you know, prior to him being, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn. And I love it.
Well, I did my best.
And I had the authority of the law.
Well, guys, that's all I have for you. That is The Bounty. That's my opinion on it. What did you think? Let me know by commenting below. If you have any future suggestions for other movies you want me to review or any other types of videos, you comment below. Let me know. Also, very important, guys, make sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe, and check me out on YouTube. No, wait, we already are on YouTube. But how about you check me out on Instagram? That will be also linked in the description below. And I have a second YouTube channel, guys. I call it Unboxing with Bob Phillips, where you get to watch me unbox things that I like, collectibles, things in the mail, all cool stuff like that. Check that out. That's going to be linked below. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time on the next Unpopular Opinion.